Woke to a sound that made my heart freeze, a soft, deliberate creak from deep beneath the old mansion's floor. The darkness in the hallway seemed to breathe, pulsing in time with that unnerving noise. I couldn't tell if it was the wind or something far more sinister. My hands trembled as I reached for the light switch, but the silence that followed was even more oppressive. In that moment, I knew our lives were about to change. Claire and Daniel had bought the colonial mansion on Maple Ridge with dreams of restoration and new beginnings. The house, with its peeling white paint and sagging porch, whispered promises of beauty beneath its decay. But as we soon discovered, it also harbored secrets that no amount of renovation could erase. The first weeks were filled with hope and hard work. I spent my days dusting off forgotten rooms while Daniel repaired broken windows and creaky floorboards. Benny, our loyal dog, trotted by our sides, his joyful barks echoing through empty halls. Yet, as night fell, the house revealed its hidden side. Muffled footsteps, distant whispers, and unexplained shadows began to haunt the quiet corridors. I tried to dismiss them as the groans of an old building settling, but a deep, gnawing dread took root inside me. One gloomy afternoon, while clearing out the clutter in the basement, I found something I never expected. Hidden behind a stack of old crates was a narrow wooden door, unmarked and out of place in the cluttered space. With a mix of curiosity and trepidation, I pushed it open. Before my eyes, a flight of stone stairs descended into utter darkness. The stairs were not mentioned in any of the original blueprints we had seen. They were new, as if the house had grown them overnight, a secret addition meant to hide something terrible. I couldn't shake the feeling that the house was alive, constantly shifting its shape. That night, as the rain battered the windows, I lay awake listening to the low, almost rhythmic creaking of those stairs. They seemed to call to me, whispering secrets in a language I couldn't understand. In the dark, the sound grew louder, as if each step was drawing me toward an unknown fate. The next morning, I mentioned the hidden staircase to Daniel. He laughed it off, dismissing it as a relic of previous renovations, perhaps a forgotten storage room. But I wasn't so sure. My unease deepened when, a few days later, Benny vanished. One moment he was happily wagging his tail, and the next he was gone. Daniel searched the grounds and even the basement, but Benny was nowhere to be found. I couldn't help but wonder if the staircase had something to do with his disappearance, but fear kept my voice silent. As the nights passed, the unexplainable occurrences grew bolder. One evening, I returned from a long day of repairs to find the hidden door ajar. With a pounding heart, I opened it and saw that the stone stairs had extended even further down than before. The new, deeper steps disappeared into a pitch-black tunnel that smelled of damp earth and decay. I closed the door as quickly as I could, my mind filled with dark images and a terror I couldn't shake. Then, on a stormy night when the wind howled like a chorus of lost souls, Daniel went missing. I awoke to find his side of our bed empty, his absence echoing in the cold silence of our room. Panic surged through me. I searched every corner of the house, calling out his name until my voice was raw. My desperate footsteps eventually led me to the basement. The hidden door stood open, beckoning me with its silent threat. With no other choice, I descended the stairs. The further I went, the colder and heavier the air became. Every step echoed, each sound amplified into a deafening reminder that I was leaving the safety of the known world. I clutched my flashlight tightly as I reached a narrow corridor with damp, crumbling walls. The corridor twisted and turned in impossible ways, and the darkness pressed in on me from every side. Amid the oppressive silence, I thought I heard Daniel's voice, a soft plea for help. "Claire, help me," it whispered, sending shivers down my spine. Driven by a mixture of dread and desperate hope, I pushed forward until the corridor opened into a vast, underground chamber. In the center of that chamber lay Daniel's jacket, crumpled on the cold stone floor. My heart pounded as I knelt beside it, calling out his name. There was no answer, only the sound of my own voice mingling with the distant drip of water. Then, as if guided by an unseen force, I noticed a narrow door at the far end of the chamber, one I hadn't seen before. My pulse thundered in my ears as I approached the door. With trembling hands, I pushed it open and stepped into a small passage. The walls were etched with strange, archaic symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Every fiber of my being screamed to turn back, yet I could not abandon Daniel. I pressed on, the passage winding deeper into a realm where time and space lost meaning. As I walked, the whispering grew louder, overlapping voices filled the air, a cacophony of sorrow, anger, and despair. They mingled with the sound of my footsteps and echoed against the stone walls. I began to see fleeting images, faces contorted in anguish, and a shadow that resembled Daniel reaching out to me from the darkness. My hope was now intertwined with terror. At the end of the passage, I found a final chamber, cold and vast. In its center stood an ancient mirror, its surface tarnished and cracked. As I gazed into it, I saw not only my own terrified reflection but also a spectral figure. It was Daniel, his eyes filled with sorrow and an expression that pleaded with me for rescue. But the image was hazy, as if he were trapped in a dream, caught between life and death. Tears blurred my vision as I realized the horrifying truth. The staircase had not led to a simple hiding place, it was a gateway to a realm where the house fed on our fears and claimed our loved ones. Daniel's figure in the mirror seemed to whisper, "Claire, I tried to warn you," before fading into darkness. The mirror, I now understood, was a portal into a void where lost souls lingered, condemned to wander endlessly. In that final chamber, I stood frozen, torn between my overwhelming desire to rescue Daniel and the instinct to flee from the darkness. Every instinct in me urged me to turn back, to leave the cursed mansion and the endless, hungry stairs behind. But the thought of Daniel, alone in that forsaken realm, propelled me forward. I took a shaky breath and resolved to return to the surface, to escape before the house claimed another victim. I retraced my steps through the winding passage and the eerie corridor, every moment etched with a lingering sense of dread. When I finally burst through the hidden door back into the basement, the familiar, cold air of the real world greeted me like a bitter reprieve. The mansion above remained silent, its peeling walls and dark windows hiding the secret horror below. I never saw Daniel again, and I could only imagine that he was lost to the house's eternal hunger. I later reported everything to the authorities, but the mansion was sealed off, its secret forever buried beneath layers of dust and despair. In the days that followed, the memory of that endless staircase haunted my every step. I avoided old houses, shunned dark basements, and every creak in the floorboard reminded me of the choice I had made. Some nights, in the quiet solitude of my own home, I would hear a distant whisper, a ghostly echo of Daniel's voice calling my name from the depths. I now know that some mysteries are best left undisturbed. The staircase that led nowhere had claimed its due, leaving me with the bitter knowledge that love and hope can sometimes lead us into the darkest corners of our own existence. The house on Maple Ridge stands as a silent testament to that truth, a monument to the terror that lurks beneath the veneer of normalcy, waiting patiently to draw the next soul into its eternal, endless night.